pick up. Y'all don't be laughing at my sign.
This dude right here, man.
That's how they ought to feel with that 1200 right now. Like a sucker.
Oh, what do that? And lock it.
Okay, y'all. We almost ready. Just locking in. Okay. Should be coming in now. There we go. Here we go, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the hottest show in social media history. I want to welcome you to a front row seat for the war zone. I got my co-host, Miss Demetria K, and I am the 5-star general. Man, I got a legend in the building tonight, man. Y'all don't even have a clue. Man, my man done worked with some of the biggest stars in the business, partner. We finna go in, man.
Yes, sir.
I want to say top of the evening to you. Top of the evening to you, man. I want to welcome you all to the war zone, man. We in the building. Now, what I need y'all to do, and as you can see, I got me something nice for my hat today. And say suck on it. I'm gonna explain that to you in a minute. But I need y'all to push the share button. Push the share button because this is gonna be phenomenal. Because I got a good friend in the building that's been in the music game forever. But tonight ain't all about music. Because I saw him make a post earlier today when all this foolishness went on with the governor. And I know he's very, very opinionated, man. And we're gonna talk a little music, we're gonna talk a little politics, but I need y'all to push the share button so we can get this thing out there. And if you don't know who Lump is, you ain't got no business doing music in the city of Houston, man. You ain't got no business doing music nowhere if you don't know who Lump is, because he taught us the game. This the man that, you know, he just invented a bunch of stuff back in the day. Lump, what's going on, big homie?
Man, I'm blessed, dude. Man, I'm humbled. Thank you for having me on here, man. You know, I've been quiet for the most part, but you know, I do have an opinion, and when I have one, I stand on it. And hey, I'm proud of what you got going on and what you're doing. You speak for the voiceless, and you stand on the righteous and the unrighteous, and I like that. So you know, you do it on both sides, man, and I respect it, man. But I'm thankful and I'm humbled. And how you doing, Miss Demetria?
I'm fine. How about yourself?
I'm well. I'm still here. No complaining. I'm on this side of the dirt. Everything else is cool.
How you doing, Demetria? Talk to me. What's going on with your mama?
Everything. This is actually my second show because you know I do my show on Fridays as well. So
Yeah.
I'm just here for the conversation.
Well, I tell you what, I got a request from somebody today, good friend of mine, and they would love for you. They want to hear what is your opinion on the black agenda. And they say, man, this lady here could write the black agenda. I say she probably could. So I know everybody wondering why I got this sign on my head that say sucker. You took that 1200, didn't you? And when you took that 1200, they went right out there and told you we finna open up these states again, huh? Don't you feel like a sucker? Because whatever they gave you, they hijacked you and took it back. They took it back. They gave it to you for what, a couple of days? And then they took it back. So now that you got the 1200 and you ain't got nothing else coming in, you gonna be able to catch up on that rent? What about that car note? And more importantly, maybe you could use that 1200 to hire an investigator to find out where the black elected officials are located at right now. Because we don't seem to have none of them from Texas, California, all the way back across country to New York saying nothing right now. Nothing. To me, it's only one man in the country standing up to Trump. And that's Como in New York. But once again, he ain't black. So where the black elected officials at? So look, I want you to give them a little backstory on who you is and the things that you've done. Because if they knew who you done worked with, it would shock some people, man.
Well, man, I was blessed to start early on, man. I can actually say my career in music started in 1988, 89 at with Floyd Clark at Surround by Sound. And Floyd and I did the first car show, and we actually showed the box when I was 18 years old. How to do that first car show, and I had no idea what I had in my hands, and gave it away. And then after that, Floyd got involved in a record company called X-Bam with my partner Jared Oliver that I went to high school with, and I started managing Bam, the artist Bam, who was affiliated with the Killer Clan and Street Military, and I didn't know what I was doing, but Bam taught me a lot. And then a partner of mine from LA, actually from New Orleans, but he moved to he's from LA, he's from New Orleans, but he moved to LA and then moved back to New Orleans. But he started Big Boy Records, and Big Boy is the label that started with Mystical, Black Menace, Partners in Crime, the Ghetto Twins. And from there, I met Big D, who was the godfather of street promotions in the city from New Jersey, but he lives in Houston. And he taught me how to do street promotions. And man, Tony Draper was my partner from high school. And Tony gave me my first major account, which was Suave House. And after Suave House came, Columbia came. After Columbia came, Loud came. After Loud came, MCA came. And I worked every major label up to that point. And then I met some boys in New Orleans as I was working Big Boy Records. I met Brian and Ronald Williams and introduced them to Wendy Day. And Wendy Day helped them get their deal. But again, what you don't know and what you don't negotiate, you don't get a part of. I actually introduced them to her, and they helped construct that deal. And of course, I didn't write myself into the deal, but after the first deal, after $26 million, you learn real quick how not to write yourself out of deals. But you live and you learn, and you keep going. And I've had an opportunity to do an amazing thing. I've been a part of over 170 million record sales with the plaques in the garage to prove it. And I've been blessed, man. I've been blessed.
Well, I tell you what, man, we sitting there talking today and never had a clue. Well, you figured it out when y'all made the post the other day and people was talking about Fresh, Manny Fresh when he did the thing with Scott Storch. And I'm like, man, I've been dealing with Fresh since 1994 when people ain't even know Fresh was doing beats. All he was a DJ in New Orleans, but he did beats. So, and I'm gonna tell you, we sitting in the studio one day working on our first albums. I'm working on a solo, and my partners, the X Mob, Vicious, Bundy, and Slice, Louisiana legends, they were working on their album. And Baby and Slim, they brought Fresh down, and Baby walk in there. He got that little sideways way of talking. Slim ain't gonna say very much at all. And he was like, "Man, I got this youngster." And we say, "Well, what you gonna do with him?" He say, "Man, I'm gonna make him a star." Well, what'd he do? Well, I need him to be a rapper. Now, you heard what I said. He said, I need him to be a rapper. I need him to be one. He couldn't rap. He couldn't write. And the guy that was standing there at 11 years old was BG, who couldn't write and could not rap. So, I keep my business to myself. But, me and Vicious did a lot of writing for a lot of people. And I ain't gonna never say who I wrote for, but I was that good. So, just sitting back, what do you think like right now, what's the difference in the music game now compared to back when we was running the roads back in the day, man? Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on. We can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Hold on, he coming back, y'all. So we got to figure it out. He coming right back. He pushed himself off, so he'll come right back in. So, I mean, back then, man, a lot of people don't have a clue about me. I've been in the music business for 35 years. There you go. Here it is. There you go. Now we can hear you.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. It's ownership, man. Ownership is the key. Most people think that they own records right now. And when you think about it, they don't own records. Everything is about your streaming service. Stop paying your phone bill you don't own any more records. That's the reason why Ice Cube right now, as he tours, he tells us this. If you own the record, they can't take it from you. But if you happen to lose your phone, if you happen to lose your service, you don't own that record anymore. And ownership is everything in records. You can't, if you get one stream doesn't equal a penny. It takes approximately 1,500 streams to actually to get one sale.
Oh.
The math don't add up, like we talked about earlier. And people just don't get it, man. And if you don't have a physical copy in your hand, what do you own? It's just like with your car. When you finish paying off your car, you get a title. When you finish paying off your house, you get a title. When you buy a piece of music, if you buy a single, you stop paying that bill, that single ain't in there no more. They stopped iTunes the way we know it. You can't even download it right now and make your own CD. And people talk about how CD sales have gone down. Well, truth be told, they're up by 44% from last year. People are still buying physical copies. And the millennials now, they want to be able to go back and actually own a piece of history. That's how come vinyl sales are big. That's why CD sales are coming back. And if you think I'm lying about it, think about what just happened over the past couple of weeks with this pandemic. You notice there's really not a whole lot of music being sold. There's no real commerce going on. It's simply because nobody can make any money. There's no ownership. So that's the biggest difference in it.
I look at the artists. I'm sorry, Demetri, you got a question?
Oh, no, I'm just listening.
Okay. I look at the artists today compared to back when we were youngsters. See, you know, me being a youngster was like 94, 95.
Me too.
And, you know, a lot of us, we really didn't know what we were doing. We were just doing music, you know, and my first show was in a cornfield in Louisiana. I just knew I wanted to do music. My wife say, "You crazy. You need to pay the light bill. I'm going to figure that out. But I'm finna be a star." So, you know, the best advice I can give a youngster right now is stop trying to be the biggest artist in the world. See, when I figured out the game, before I signed my deal with Parlay Records, label out of Lake Charles, Louisiana,
I remember Parlay.
They knew that I understood the music industry. I understood at least that much. I knew how much I wanted to make. I knew how many albums I was going to do. You know, I knew what I was going to take. I'm not finna just take anything. And more importantly, what is the release date of my first project? Because if that date is not in there, they can hold you forever.
That's right.
They can hold you forever until that date starts. So the best advice I would give a youngster is you need to become a student of the game first. You need to learn the business side first, because I didn't want to be Face. I didn't want to be Biggie. I didn't want to be, you know, Tupac. I actually would tell anybody I wanted to be Jay, Puffy, and Suge, because the money wasn't behind the microphone. The money was behind the desk. I didn't want, and that's the best advice that I can give a kid right now that wants to live that dream. You know, when people really think, oh, they didn't do New Edition like that. Well, now they really didn't. New Edition did they self. They did they self. The record label never messes over you. That's the way that I feel. You mess over yourself by not clearly understanding the business or finding you an attorney that's going to work in your best interest.
And that's a true statement, man, because most attorneys at that time, you got to think about it. When we started in the 90s, between Louisiana and Texas, I mean, I'm from LA, born and raised until I got down here when I got in trouble. But there really weren't a lot of competent entertainment attorneys. I mean, it's just the truth. And if you don't understand what you're signing, why do you sign it? And then not only that, why wouldn't you get somebody who understood the language, or at least understood the language in the contract to help you negotiate it? That's just like this kid, what's his name, lUMPKIN. He signed a deal, Monroe, and it was he signed a deal with Warner Brothers, but they found out that he wasn't 18. He wasn't of age to enter into a legal contract. He figured out what his worth was. He went back in after they tore that contract up. He still made money, and then he negotiated to do a 1-album deal, and the boy got in the upwards of $10 to $12 million. And he told him he was only doing 1 album, bro. And that's all because he figured out what he was worth. He figured out where the holes were in that initial contract, and he got the right representation, and he got his bread. If you don't negotiate what you really want, they're going to plug you up, man. And that's just the truth.
Oh, bro, it's definitely a learning experience because
It
I
really is.
think running around with the mob and we laugh about it now. You know, we were the epitome of a starving artist because we were on the road starving. We ain't had no money. We ain't had no money, man. I mean, it's you gonna put the work in if you don't do anything else, and that's another thing I see nowadays. Everybody want to be a star overnight. No, it don't happen like that. It
No, not
does
at all.
not happen like that. Does not happen. Especially if you got a 360 deal, it ain't finna happen like that. You know, I want your opinion, and Dimitri, you might want to jump in this too. We saw the stuff going on with Megan Thee Stallion, Carl Crawford. You know, I don't even speak on Jay Prince because he was, that's on the outside. So that issue to me is between Megan and Carl. You know, everybody like he messed over her. Actually, if that deal was structured exactly the way that Carl said, she had a decent deal. To me, she had a decent deal because I done dealt with dudes that had 360s that, I'm gonna put them out there, the GS boys. They had a 360 through Young Jock, entertainment company.
Okay.
And it was five of them. It was five of them splitting $2,000.
Yeah, that ain't no money.
But that was after Jock got 1,000 of it. So you really got five people splitting $1,000. And people really think that these folks be having a lot of money. Oh, they a star. They got a lot. No, the record label got a lot of money. If it's their first project, and you tell me if I get it wrong, Lump, you could go platinum on your first project and barely crack 19 G's.
Man, look, people don't understand. That's 7 to 12% that you negotiate with your record label. When I worked at Elektra, I started working at Elektra in 2000. In 2000, Sylvia Rohn hired me, the CEO. She now has her own imprint. She actually now runs. After Elektra, she ran Universal, and after Universal, she did a hiatus, and now she has she's the CEO of Epic. She's Doug Morris's girl. PeriodPointBlank.com. I love Ms. Rome, the only black female, Ms. Dimitri, the only black female CEO of a major record company. And I was blessed to be able to sit in on meetings. And I was actually working for Elektra at the time when Busta, Missy, Yolanda Adams, Tweet, Lil Mo, Missy Elliott, Metallica, when all of those people were running in the building. And let me tell you something. That's 6% or that 15%. I'm going to even be high. And Jerry, you know that 15% is high.
You stretching it with that.
You literally have to pay all the bills out of your 15%. Like you're gonna pay for postage, you're gonna pay for posters, you're gonna pay for publicity, you're gonna pay for travel, you're gonna pay for all of that. And then after you clear what's been spent, then you get 15% of the money that's left over, and that's if you clear. That's how come so many artists don't understand the whole process of recouping. And then if you're not writing your music, you ain't getting no publishing. All these people talking about mechanicals, you really need to understand publishing. If you don't understand publishing, stop talking. People act like they understand what
Publishing is. I always tell them about publishing. I say, man, just go look at the 5 Heartbeats. When Jimmy went there to get the deal with Big Red. And Jimmy say, everything look all right. Well, what about the publishing? And Big Red say, we can talk about it. Because people don't understand publishing. You want these people to put up all their money for you. They taking a chance on all their money. And then, okay, so what you gonna give me? Man, you gotta give me that publishing. And people don't understand what publishing really is. So, when I tell people there are actually 2 writers on a song. What you mean by that? 2 writers. It's the person that writes the words and the person that writes the music. I say, dog, if you don't know that, remember Quincy Jones and them in their day, they used to have to pen their music. So it's 2 writers on a song. So if you don't know that, you don't even know where your money at.
Most of them back then, they didn't even really have 2 writers. You got to think, half of those artists, they couldn't even write.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So
I made a killing.
And then look, people like Quincy, man, I never will forget when I watched that documentary on Quincy Jones. When I saw that Thriller plaque that he had on the wall, man, first of all, I was blown away by that plaque, but I started thinking about how much money Quincy made on that album. But more importantly, when I started thinking about Quincy, I started thinking about Akon. I never will forget when I worked for Loud Records, Akon and this dude named Ricochet, they were in a white van. This dude named Gabi Acevedo, who was Steve Rifkin's vice president, he put him in the van and took him on the road. And Akon said to me, he said, Lump, they keep laughing about me in these tight jeans, in this slim fit shirt. They don't understand one thing about me. I'm going to get in this van, and I'm going to stay in this van, and I'm going to ride it from New York to California. But what they don't know is I got hits, I wrote everything, and I produced everything. When you see me the next time, Lump, I'm going to be a multi-millionaire, and I'm going to own every dime, and I'll be damned. That's exactly what he did. But he owned everything. He put the work in. And now look at him. The man is literally doing things in Africa that people only think about. But he owned everything. And that's how come I said earlier when you asked me what's the biggest gap in the business, it's ownership. People don't even understand how to own it. People, you ask somebody where they're publishing the setup. I had a conversation with a Houston act, and I'm not going to say his name, but a very popular artist sampled his music. And the artist that we all know, very popular, probably one of the most popular acts in the business right now, he helped that artist get his publishing straight. He said, man, they can say what they want to say about that boy, but he helped me. And it's sad that when you think about it, when we were doing what we were doing in the early 90s to now, think about how long it took for people to actually get publishing right in Houston, and think about how much publishing is still left on the table. There's a girl right now, her name is Tammy Latrell, Sam's daughter. You know her too. She's doing these publishing workshops. She's finding money for acts. She's doing her thing. And folks don't even want to give her a small percentage. I'm talking about 1 or 2 points. And she's trying to help folks get their money that's literally just sitting there in the vault. When I work for Kadar Massenberg, who owes me money right now, and I want to beat him up. But I had a conversation with Cisco. And Cisco, we were in the car because we did a Southwest tour, and he and I wound up getting cool. And this is when Kadar had put them kind of back together. He said, Lump, he said, man, do you know I have not been paid for the Thong song yet? I said, what? Bruh, you think about how big that song was. Think about how it was on the various now. It was all on MTV. It was all in movies. See, every time that thing is placed in the movie on the soundtrack, the interest begins to build up. But what happened was he didn't handle the publishing. So as a result, his homeboy refuted it. It hit the publisher at the same time. It's still in dispute. And the last time I checked, it was still in dispute. And as a result, that song is like in the millions. If I remember right, when I talked to him, it was up to $36 million in publishing that had not been paid out because they were still fighting, were still in litigation. But here's the crazy part people don't get. The publishing company still drawing interest on that money, so they could care less where that money goes, because they still collecting interest, and that's all because they didn't understand ownership, bro. It's horrible. And
now you got something you want to beat up. I want to beat up James Fortune because that first album, yeah, I'm talking about James Fortune, the gospel guy. I told y'all I'm a sinner in training, and the first album, I did 2 songs. I did one song, and we did a remix. And the My Dance song. Yeah, that's Monroe on My Dance. And the remix. And well, what you gonna charge me? Say, man, give me 3 G's. You keep the publishing. I don't think you're gonna do nothing with it. That's how I felt. So never got my money, man. And I'm in Papados one day talking to my partner. And I said, I wish I could see this boy, man, and turn around and there he is. Man, let me holler at you about my change, man. I need my money, man. Man, just calm down. Now. You know, back then they were pimping the sound scans. You know, they were pimping the sound scans in the mom and pop stores. So if you were good with one mom and pop, you go in there chucking from chain, they gonna run you 30, 40 copies a day on the sound scans. So he tell me, man, we ain't sold no records. I say, hey, I don't care if you ain't sold none, but if I take this stuff to court, he see what he didn't know is I had a partner at Epic. that pulled all his stuff. So we looking at the numbers, whether the scans was valid or not. We looking at the numbers that say you just sold 120,000 copies.
Where's the
And
money?
you got my voice on this record, no clearance, no nothing. Man, I want my money, man. Man, we gonna hook up. Man, gave me a number. The next day, the number changed. I ain't saw that dude in about 7 years, man.
Man,
About 7
just
years.
think about this. I helped an act when I was at Capitol, and again, I'm not into saying names because you know me. I can say in front of you and I can say behind you, but what I'm telling you right now, what I'm sharing with y'all is what I've shared with them. I got an artist on Capitol, a hook for 10 racks, cash money during Christmas season. This was in the early 2000s. So, you know, during that time, when they broke for Christmas, it was like a big period, a big blank period between November and January. They really weren't working records through, you know,
Yeah,
through
that's
the
that
holiday.
fourth quarter.
There you go. So in that quarter, I got somebody 10 racks cash. Man, do you know that the girl didn't even offer me a $50 gift card to go to Papa's to get something to eat? I said, you know what? That's my fault. Like, I can't even be mad at you because I should have learned with Baby. I should have learned with DMD. Well, I take that back because Inner Soul, Chandre, and Jay Will, may he rest in peace, they looked out for me. But Toe Down, that deal that they got through Electra, hey, man, I'm telling you what I did. I mean, this is all documented. And it's like even with Wendy Day, with Rap Coalition, Wendy tried to act funny because I hooked her up with Baby and them. And when she finally got her money, and I will say this, the only reason that she wound up getting her money is because Freddie Fox, Bumpy Knuckles, that, you know, that thug cat up in New York, he told them, he said, hey, look here, man. If y'all don't pay her money, understand this. We ain't never got to go to New Orleans, but y'all gonna always have to come to New York. So pay her what you owe her. Because, you know, Baby can do everything but long division. I love him to death. That's my boy. You know I do. But he can do everything but division, bro. And I ain't mad at him because once you know who you're dealing with and how they deal, it's up to you on how you move forward with them.
Now, I'm going to tell you this here. But then when you say that about Baby, I just sit here and laugh because I used to go to New Orleans. I was in Lake Charles, so I would go to New Orleans after we met Fresh. You know, I would always go hang out with Tech Nine. You know, from UNLV, that was my people there, man. Yeah, I'm going hang out with Tech Nine. So me and Vish down there, Vicious, God bless him. He passed away last year. And we down there, Vish in the highs, him and Baby. Baby just a big clown if you get to know him. If you get to know him. Slim is just Slim and quiet, he don't say much. So Baby down there, man, you think he's Vish down there tell him, man, you think he's slick, huh? You ain't gonna tell us why them boys come around here, shoot up them cars last week. Baby, like, clown, you need to be quiet. Man, you think we don't know what went on with Yellow? You know. So I'm sitting there, Slim say, let me holler at you, Big Daddy. Man, I want you to sign the Cash Money. Wasn't no hot boys. Wasn't no hot boys at the time. Wayne them was kids. They was trying to structure them into a group. So I say, what we talking? The man tell me, man, we gonna do a 10-album deal. Man, I'm not doing no 10 albums. Y'all putting albums out every month. And I'm telling y'all the truth. And then he said, well, okay, you want to write something for me? I'll write for you. So I'm like, what you paying me? I go get you a gold off of First and Claiborne. I don't write records, man, for no gold teeth. Say, look, tell them, this is what we had to deal with back in the day, man.
Man, I'm just so glad. I'm going to be honest with you. God has been good to me because all of my lessons that I had to learn, I learned them up front. So all of my bad experiences, 26 years old, I learned how to negotiate myself into a deal and how to literally back away from something. And I used to get mad at people when they used to say, like, we go to those conferences, the BRE, the Black Radio Exclusive in New Orleans.
Oh, I used to love them conferences, dude.
Man, look, I remember them old heads used to come in there and used to say, if you ain't got no money, you don't need to be in the game. And I used to be like, man, they don't know what they talking about. But you know what? They were absolutely right.
Exactly.
If you ain't got no money, you don't need to be doing this, man. Like you don't need to be doing. And the reason why people sign bad contracts is because they don't get the right representation. And then the other thing that happens is, even when they think that they know what happened, they still wind up getting themselves in a pickle and they want the money too fast. And what I've had to learn is that anything that comes fast goes fast. So if you're already negotiating from a very negative vantage point, chances are, Chuck told me this when I was working at Big Boy. He said the way that the artist comes to you is the way that the artist leaves you. He said if they come to you begging and complaining, they're gonna leave you begging and complaining. If they come to you trying to work and be a team player, they're gonna leave here being a team player. And a lot of people don't understand this, is that when Mystical left Big Boy, and I bring this up because I get tired of looking at all these documentaries and not telling the truth. When he left Big Boy, and Master P will actually, if you ask him the truth, he's gonna tell you, he was not signed to No Limit. No Limit was his management company. Because if you look on the albums that he did with Jive, you'll still notice on the imprint, it had Big Boy Records on there. Chuck said, man, they can do what they want to do because I'm still getting paid. No Limit was managing him, but Chuck and Precise who did the beats, who stays in Houston now, he's still getting his publishing off of Mystical. Chuck, may he rest in peace. I buried my homeboy 3 years ago. He was just hard-headed at the time, but Chuck didn't care because the only thing that mattered to him is how they looked at him at the bank. Again, it goes back to ownership, what you negotiate, and what's real. Not this fluff and mirrors. Man, have you noticed on social media, you don't see all this putting the money up to the ear? You notice you're not hearing a whole lot of talk about music. You're not hearing that type of stuff right now because now that everybody's shut down, these cats don't know what to do. So that lets you know that it's almost like having a puppet on a string. These cats only do what these labels literally ask them to do. The only ones that I actually see making money are the ones who are touring right now. That's going to end because California just basically said, hey, look, don't even think about it until 2021. New Orleans just said the same thing. We really getting ready to see who's who and what's what, who owns what. And it's not so much what you can make, it's about what you can keep. And that's just the truth right now, man. And I bring up these little bitty stories because a lot of these cats are old school. You don't know what you're talking about. And you ain't sold a BB. Nothing. It's the same 7 to 10 artists that you see on social media. It's actually making money. And the cats who really making the money, the Jay-Z's of the world, the Babies of the world, you don't really see them doing a whole lot of talking. The only one who's talking and putting it in your face is 50 Cent, but 50 got a right to do it because he's making money across the board. It's just that simple.
Yeah, they might not like him, but I mean, the boy is a borderline genius. You see what I'm saying? And I tell people this story, and they don't believe me. I say, if Big Boy could have kept his business straight,
oh
wouldn't have been no Limit. No Limit just picked up all his acts. All them acts were on Big Boy.
I give Pete some credit because Chuck was crazy, like you said. If he'd handled his business, my homeboy was crazy. But you know, when it came to his ear for talent and the way he stole Mystical from KLC, him and Precise, it was some crazy stuff going on. P did have his thing going, but you are right. Fiend, who was a major contributor, writer to not only No Limit, but before No Limit, well, after No Limit, Rough Riders, he helped write a whole lot for them.
See, that's just like today with me, and then we gonna switch it up a little bit because I don't want my friend to be left out of this. Yeah, you know, me and you talking about a project called Turf Stories, and that was on Ruthless through Tamika Wright, and people had no clue that I'm sitting on an album with Snoop, with the Outlaws. They like, man, are you serious? I'm like, dude, I was everywhere, and as long as I was getting paid, I didn't care. So, but I'm gonna ask you this here. Today, I looked at your page, and it seemed like you got upset about something.
Yeah,
and you know, this is where my girl gonna chime in, and y'all gonna go to war on this thing. Tell the world what upset you today and made me call you.
Man, you know, I've been usually quiet. The only time I get on here is when I do my devotionals. I try to stay out of current affairs just simply because a lot of it is knee-jerk reaction. But today, when I saw Governor Abbott roll his butt out there and began to talk about, basically sounded like a puppet to his partner, number 45. I won't even say his name because I just refuse to give him that kind of credit. Like, I'm just going to give him a number. 45 is opening up this country And saying to me last week, he was talking about how inflated these numbers were, how this curve hasn't began to flatten, and now all of a sudden that this 3.2 million or 2.2 trillion dollars has been divvied out, and how only 2.3% of this money has gone to the average Americans. They've built out all of these companies. Now all of a sudden that the money is starting to run out and can't nobody figure out who got an SBA loan, who got this and who got that. Now all of a sudden you want to send people back to work? Huh? You want to open it back up? But now here just last week you said that people who travel in from New Orleans, well, from Louisiana, period, who come into Texas, they've got to quarantine for 14 days. But you tell people they can go back to work. Now you're saying that you took down all of the basketball goals out of the parks. Now you're telling people that they can go back to the park if they wear a mask and if it's no more than 6 people in the setting. Say, man, I'm not the best in political science, although my major from U of H, my degree is in hotel and restaurant management. Bruh, common sense ain't that common, but I got a little bit of it. I'm trying to figure out, or it would just behoove me for you to go ahead and say this. Hey, look here, man. We done ran out of money. It ain't no real money out here. This economy's about to go crazy. And even when we do bring y'all back, it's still gonna be nuts because all these companies not gonna hire y'all back. I'd rather you be that transparent than for you to tell me with the banana in the tailpipe that, hey, look, you guys can go back to work. We're gonna practice social distancing. And based on the way that the tests are going, you talking about just last week, you said 27 million tests will be done and only 2 million tests have been done. And then these people keep coming back talking about, well, the numbers say this and the numbers say that. But I find it mighty funny that once this thing got a face of color, people of color were the ones who they saw were affected the most. Now all of a sudden it's cool to go back to work. It's cool to go back to business as normal. No, man, like I have a very good friend. You and I share a friend, and he don't like us talking about his name and all that, and I'm good with that. But that's my friend, my cousin Rochelle Williams, who was in New York, who almost died, who literally stared death in the face. I got a partner of mine who lost his grandfather because his uncle was in and out of the house and didn't want to get tested. The grandfather died, then the grandmother tested positive. But these things only seem to take precedence when it affects somebody directly. So, Ms. Dimitri, like I said, like, I'm really pissed off. Like, I'm in my feelings. I love the Lord with my entire heart. I got the heart of Paul, but I got the spirit of Peter. I'm gonna cut you if you come over here playing with mine. I'm not tough no more. I'm not that kind of guy anymore. But the numbers alone and the logic alone don't add up, and we can't sit in place long enough. And like you said earlier, if $1,200 is your idea of real paper, we got a problem to begin with. And it's hard to stay sucker free when you're living in a land full of lollipops. It's true.
You got the flow, mama.
Well, what happened today with the stock market once it was announced that some states were going to open up? The stock market went up. So you always got to follow the money. Because it's only a few states really that are saying, you know what, we're going to open up. I think it's Texas, Florida, I think North Dakota. They never had a stay at home, in some other states. But for the most part, other states are like, you know what, like California, we don't have a date to open up because they want to make sure everything makes sense because they're putting the people over the money. But you have places, you know, like Texas, which is a red state. Red states go for Trump. You guys have probably noticed a lot of Trump supporters have been outside of the governor's mansions and, you know, the state capitals and things like that, talking about you need to open up. It's all right. You're robbing us. We need the economy to boom and all of that. And so always follow the money. But the rich people, the governors of those states, they only care about the money. Like you and I know, all of us. If you go on our Facebook, like I say, every day I'm extending a condolence to somebody who has lost somebody. So we know this is not going away. We know it's not getting better. But the people who are making those decisions, like the governor of Texas, they're all business owners. Do you guys think they're going to be on the front lines? No, it's people like us. We're on the front lines. We know predominantly it's Black and brown people who are in the service industry, right? So We're going to be the ones on the front lines working at the Taco Bell, the department stores, and all of that. And so they want money to come back. And if it costs them or somebody a life, so what? Now, I'm not saying so what. That's what they're saying. But I mean, to me, I'm not surprised. But what are the people going to do about it? Are the people going to go back to work? Are they going to go back into the line of fire? You know, and then I heard you ask about the black politicians. They're making their money too. They'll never have to go work at in the service industry or anything like that. They're losing money too. Don't ever get it twisted. The Democrats, Republicans, they're all losing money. So they all want the economy to open back up at you and I's expense.
I tell you what, somebody said that people are gonna get sick. Now I need them to think about that. People are they're gonna get sick, but people are gonna die.
Yeah.
People are going to die. And it's gonna be a lot of our people that die. My mama said it last night, Demetri. I've been broke all my life. Ain't nothing wrong with being broke a couple of more months. I'm not tripping. I got say, man, the way I buy groceries, man, I go get a whole bunch of chickens. Because I can cook them a whole bunch of ways. I'm not tripping. I will stay still. And that's what it is. But the thing is you're right. Everybody's losing money. But you know what? Karma is it's going to come back. But it's going to come back in a way that they can't handle it. Just imagine right now, y'all. We're dealing with the pandemic. What if we were in the middle of hurricane season and we got hit with a hurricane? What would we do? Game over. And you got this real estate agent down in Washington running the country. He living in a reality show. And this is a big game. But you know what I have noticed? Don't seem like too many politicians getting sick. And I wonder how the governor of Texas, who don't wear a mask, don't have no gloves on, just rolling around in his little Bentley wheelchair, and you getting all the bacteria and all that on your hands. So what kind of vaccine or some medication y'all got that y'all ain't telling us about? It's something going on, man. But what I saw today, they loaned you $1,200, and now they finna take it back.
Well, I mean, I don't know. To me, the $1,200 doesn't outweigh what's going to happen with people who have to go back to work. Because the states that are opening up, pretty soon the jobs are going to start calling people to come back, whether they want to go back or not. So you're going to risk losing your job. And so I think, to your point, you have to just say to yourself, do I go back to work, or do I stay home and stay alive? And also, you got to realize too, we're still in campaign season. So this is, every time you see Trump get on TV and his little minions like the governor of Texas, this is campaigning still, because they still have to do the mission of their base. Their base is the one that's out there at the steps in City Hall, talking about open up the government or whatever the case is. And so Trump and them are scared that they're going to lose supporters. They can't afford to lose supporters, because there's a lot of people now who are upset about how he handled this whole coronavirus in the first place. And so they can't afford to lose more people. And so, unfortunately, once again, the American people are going to be stuck with the short end of the stick. But what are we going to do about it? Like I said, I'm fortunate enough to work from home, so I'm not in the line of fire. But had I been in the line of fire, I would stay home. I would not go back out there. I would do whatever I needed to do to put food on the table, but I'm not going to risk my life. I mean, we really have to come to that point. I mean, what's more important, what they tell you to do, or you staying alive?
Well, Lump, let me ask you a question. I'm really tough on politicians. I mean, basically, I'm really not tough on them. I mean, I'm just holding them accountable. I mean, you say you wanted the job, do the job. What is
Yeah.
what is your feelings right now with the quietness of the African American politicians, knowing that this may affect the African American community the hardest by reopening the state too soon?
I believe that anybody who goes along to get along at this point, if you actually believe that you are elected by the people, for the people, and you're not living up to the oath that you took when you took office, then shame on you, and we need to get you out of there. But here's the kicker, though. You know, like I know, a lot of us talk that big six, but we pack double blank. See, when November rolls around and when these general elections and the local elections come around, if people don't vote, I don't get it, man. For people who said that their vote didn't count, obviously what they're going to realize is that they do matter. These votes do count. But more importantly, just to be a direct line to your question, I have a very big problem with the folks who don't stand up. Because one thing about death, hey man, it doesn't have a color. And if we
Exactly.
continue to do it, to allow them to do this and do that, I see Sheila Jackson Lee walking around at these testing centers and all of that, but I mean, a lot of that is just social media. That's smoke and mirrors. It's just like everybody else. And it's not, and I'm saying that about her because at least I do see her. I don't see anybody else. Like I see Sylvester Turner every day because he's on the news. He's on, he's local. He's actually on television every day. But in the same breath, there's some things with his politics that I didn't necessarily agree with. But today, I can even see that he even began to back up just a little bit because it was just like, wait a minute now, and let's just be honest. Big G, look, here's the thing. We suffer with respiratory issues probably more than any other. Well, based on what I know, our respiratory systems as people of color, we have all kind of heart issues. We have hypertension issues. So basically, our immune systems are compromised. And these same people that we share a household with, that we may or may not share a household with, if they telling us to go back out here and go to work, Mr. Dimitri, and we bring this back in to mama or the auntie, and we wind up killing them because of it, and the politicians know that these are the issues that we're dealing with, and they have nothing to say. Truth be told, man, give up your. That's like all these judges that we elected, all of these female judges that we elected, all of these politicians that look like you and I elected. They're not speaking for us right now, bro. And
Nothing.
the ones who are, if they are speaking for us, they're so quiet because they don't want to mess with relationships that they have because they're doing bipartisan like government right now. Say, man, it's time out for that. Either that or you got paid to be quiet too. It's one or the other.
Ms. Demetria?
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, they're not going to mess up their bag. You know, a lot of times these politicians, especially the new politicians, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. But then when they get in the seat and they see all the good things that are coming to them, all the, the money and the favors, and it's like, I'm not going to mess that up. I might say something every once in a while, but I'm not really going to, because it's about me now. I've gotten to the point to where, I can have anything I want because I'm in a powerful position. So I'm not going to mess that up, but that should be the first and last time that they have that position. Now, I know this is, controversial. I'm not big on voting on the national level, but state and local, yes, I am. And so to your point with these judges and sheriffs and, council people, they may really directly affect us. But we don't go and vote in those elections. We're too focused on the national elections, right? And so when you see, because we can see closely, or more closely rather, your judges and your sheriffs and your DAs, we can see the work they're doing. So we can go to the polls and vote them out, but we keep, like in Maxine Waters and all those other people, we keep voting them in and they're not doing a thing. Like you guys said, they're completely silent for the most part on this, and it's their people. It's Black people who are dying, and they hardly have a word to say. And again, all of those politicians, Black, white, whatever, they've all become richer by being politicians. And so you think they're going to mess that up? Of course, they want the government and the economy to open back up because, look at all the senators that withdrew all their money out of the stock market when the thing first was announced. They know what's at stake for them. Millions are at stake for them. So, yeah, they want us to get ourselves back to work so they can continue.
It's almost like the order of natural selection. I'm sorry, Mr. Demetria. It just seems like it's natural. It's almost like they know, I've got a friend. His name is Richard Logan, and I got another friend, London, Washington. He's a recruiter for healthcare. He's a professional recruiter. One of my partners. He can't even get nurses with big salaries, the draw of a big salary to come back to work. My partner Richard is just like, man, look, we're 18 months off from any type of vaccination. We are time out. He said, man, people don't. Then another homegirl of mine, Alicia Hopkins, that I went to school with, that I went to high school and undergrad with. She said, look, today when I made that post, G, she came on my page and said, classmate, we're going to lose a whole lot more people before this thing gets any better. She said, and by them opening up the country, opening up this state of, she said, forget the country, but this state of Texas, she said, just be prepared for more deaths to funerals that you can't go to. And I'm really tripping. And like you said, the complicity of people who look like me who are in office, you know, it's bad enough that you only come around when it's time for you to get reelected is when we see you in these churches. And G, you've been saying the thing, you know, for a long time. You know, you've been trying to make sure that people are held accountable and are doing the right thing, and people call you a bulldog and all of that. But at the end of the day, if we can't call people out on what's wrong, how in the hell can we praise them for what's right? I don't get like that part for me. I don't really get. And again, I try to stay out of matters of government. But when you start seeing people that you know who are directly affected by this, I've got 2 daughters who have compromised immune systems with asthma. And I can't get you to say, hey, man, what you're talking about, Abbott, is nowhere close to being right. And for those who are talking in the dark and won't look me in my eye, I have a problem with that, because you can't say it like after it's all over with and said and done. You can't say what you was doing, because what matters most, what did Martin Luther King say, is not where we stand. And basically what Martin Luther King was saying, and I'm paraphrasing it, is that our enemies are those who get quiet in moments of injustice. Mm-hmm. And enemies in that sense doesn't have to be defined by a color, but right now I'm talking about the ones who look like me. I have a very big issue with that. Huge issue with that.
I got a major issue with it, brother. And you can best believe that I was on the phone today with some elected officials. And I'm like, I mean, when y'all gonna get the buses? When y'all gonna get the charter buses, man, so we can get on up there to the state capitol, man? Because this ain't working, homie. This ain't working. And what people don't understand, it seems just like a setup to me to eliminate us. They're not going to eliminate us all, but they're going to impact us to a high degree. Because one, why would you open the second worst state when it comes to testing first? We the second worst in the country with the number of tests that we've done, but we're the first one to open back up. You gambling with this thing. Yeah, but the problem is, by you not finding a cure or a vaccine, and this is something I tell people, because I want Demetri to hear me and I want you to hear me. And all of y'all out there, we got this world-renowned medical facility, you know, in Houston, Texas Medical Center. That until this day, I might be wrong, but I'm hardly ever wrong. Can somebody tell me what cure they done found for anything? Nothing. Nothing. So if you don't have a cure, you don't have a vaccine, okay, we hit the summer months, is what it is. Then all of a sudden, because if you're on the East Coast, it get colder faster on the East than it do in the West and the South. You mess around in August, and on the East Coast, here we go with this corona, because you ain't grabbed a hold of it yet. You open this state or open any state up right now, it's gonna be a bunch of dead people. And the good thing, and this is something good from it, and people gonna be mad when I say it. It's gonna be some dead Democrats. It's gonna be some dead Republicans, some dead black folk, some dead white folks, some dead Latinos, some dead LGBTQ. All us gonna be dead. And all because we do not want to hold our elected officials accountable. And you know what's amazing? We need to get our economy back open. Do you own a business? You work for somebody. You punch a clock. much of the economy do you actually affect? No, we need to get your boss back in there. And see, the crazy part, we running out of unemployment money now. $1,200. We running out of unemployment money now. But you wasn't running out when you were giving them companies $20-30 million. You gave them 20-30 million and shoot up 1,200. Getting crumbs off the pie, and they keeping the cash money.
You know what? The only person that I see that's actually talking any kind of common sense that's a billionaire, and I don't know his politics, but at least I know that he's been vocal, and he don't look like us. But it's Mark Cuban for the Dallas Mavericks.
He on another level.
A little bit of sense. And I, like you said, like I was the point that I was alluding to earlier was it's a matter for me. It seems like it's a matter of natural selection. Only the strong are going to survive, and I think it's by design. And as much as I hate to say it, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm none of that. Well, I am. Let me not lie. I am, but publicly speaking, when I begin to speak publicly, what I've had to learn is that all you have to do is look at what's around you. I had a friend of mine today. I won't say a friend, but an associate of mine. He was talking about the numbers and how it only affects the 1%, only 1% of the people. See, I have a real big issue with the way that the numbers are coming out and where they're getting these studies from. How can you be such a pinpoint expert on the results of a study when the testing has been minimal? If you know for a fact that we've only got about 2 million tests out there, and yet and still they're saying that for every 1,000 people, if we are testing 20 to 27, like they are in Italy, for every 1,000 people they're getting 20 tests. That's a good skew. Well, now the reason why LA, the reason why New York, and the reason why California have such high cases is because they're highly metropolitan. The metropolitan areas are very, very high populated with people of color, and they are on top of each other. So what makes you think that it's okay for folks here, where Texas is a pretty large state the last time I checked? What makes you think that we're not on a coastal plain where we have a port of entry here? We have a major international hub here in terms of the George Bush Intercontinental Airport. We've got folks coming in here, and just because these people are asymptomatic and they don't look like they're going through it, think about the people who they're affecting. And like I said, next week we're gonna really figure it out. When folks starts dropping down, when folks start going into these hospitals and they can't get seen, then everybody's gonna cry foul, and then ain't nobody gonna be around. And like Mr. Demetrius said, like, I need to understand, like, where are you guys at? Where are you? Where are these elected officials at? They are really practicing social distancing for real, to a point to where it's gonna be to our detriment in a minute.
Well, they're not gonna show up till November, right around election time with them turkeys. And that's how they gonna feel like all should be forgiven. And guess what the Negro voter gonna do? Take the turkey.
I want to address something. She was making an issue of why aren't we addressing removing the white supremacists from the White House? And I'm like, surely we don't think that this is the first time there's a white supremacist in the White House. My take, like I said, I know it's not popular, but we're going to get Trump out and put another white supremacist in there. Now, is Joe Biden an overt racist? No, he's definitely a Dixiecrat. But as Black people, we should be asking, what are we going to get for removing Trump? Because I don't think it's our job to remove Trump. We didn't put Trump in there in spite of what people think. Black people didn't put Trump in there. He is not our Frankenstein, okay? But what are we going to do? What are we going to do to help remove Trump? We've been asking for a Black agenda. A lot of people say, well, we don't have a Black agenda. That's a lie. We've had a Black agenda since the days of Marcus Garvey and until present day. We have a Nation of Islam. They have a blueprint. Dr. Claude Anderson, we have plenty of agenda, Black agendas and blueprints. It's just, which one are we going to decide to follow? So now, and it's not a secret, we know that Democrats cannot get the job of dog catcher without us. And so at some point in time, we need to all get on the same page and say, okay, I don't care what it is. As long as it's helping us meet our agenda, what's on that agenda? We want reparations. We want some land. We want to be able to build businesses. We want to actually finally be able to close the wealth gap, which we know the average wealth of a Black household is that of $15,000 compared to that of white households at $170,000. It is said that in 12 years, give or take, Black people's wealth is going to be zero. My partner and I always joke and say we're 12 years from being a slave again. So we're going to continue.
I believe that.
I believe it too. But we're going to continue to put people in the White House like Black people, and I'm including as Malcolm X. So, Malcolm X likened Black people, the Black voters, to political footballs. We just allow the Republicans, and at the time he called them liberals, Democrats, to kick us back and forth to whoever is, needs us the most. And he also said this, that any Black person that votes for liberal is a traitor to their race. Why? Because they know that the Democrats continue to lie to us and they never do anything for us. We haven't moved the ball as Black people since the 1960s because we as Black people continue giving them our votes. Now Trump is the boogeyman. Oh, we don't need nothing but just to get rid of Trump. To get what? Trump, and I'm not voting for Trump. I don't think Trump is a good dude. I say that all the time. I think he's a horrible individual, especially what he's doing now. But Biden, at this point, has actually done more to harm Black people than Trump has done. So you want to vote to get Biden back in the office where he can make more decisions like the ones he did in the 1980s, in 94 with Bill Clinton to institutionalize and incarcerate Black people. So all I'm saying is I refuse, as Malcolm X said, voting for the lesser of two evils is still choosing evil. So yeah, we got a white supremacist in the White House. What's new? There's always been white supremacists in the White House. Even Barack Obama, who was a tool of white supremacy because he didn't do not a doggone thing for Black people specifically. He didn't even feel like he needed to free one Black Panther, who we know, historically speaking, that most of them, if not all of them, are in jail on bull caca. So they're all white supremacists. But at some point in time, Black people got to get on the same page and say, if you want our vote, we need something for it. Period.
Let me ask you a question. Both of y'all tell me. See if we know a little history. Who was worse? Trump or Nixon?
Trump or
I actually would say Nixon because he was dealing with J. Edgar Hoover at the time. I would actually begin to say it was Nixon because at least with Nixon, you really didn't know what he was doing. But with Trump, it's almost like dealing with the devil. You know what he's getting ready to do. It ain't no secret with him, and he's basically putting it in your face and letting you know, and he's sticking his tongue out, saying, "This is what I've done, and you ain't gonna do nothing to me." And he's gonna hold it as long as he can hold it, G. Because when he's out of there, I know that girl in New York is really she got a cake that she's baking for him. But in my opinion, I would say Nixon was worse than Trump. That's in my opinion.
Okay, Demetria.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Nixon kind of on board with some sort of civil rights stuff? If I'm not mistaken.
I think we should go back and look at who really who started the foundation of mass incarceration. And it would amaze you. Nixon started the foundation of mass incarceration. So now I'm going to shoot another one at you because it's more up to our speed. Trump or the first Bush?
Well, you know what? This is what I would say. Trump hasn't been in office long enough to, in fact, Trump, some of the policies, and I'm not a Trump supporter, but some of the things he has done is actually help Black people, whether we realize it or not. And I mean, we know that
Black people only hear what he say because he's a soundbite every time he comes on TV. But if they do the research, it ain't that dude someday that's doing us. It's our people. It's our people. Like you said, white supremacists or whatever they want to call them. This ain't their first rodeo.
Right.
This ain't their first rodeo. We've been having to deal with this forever. But the thing about these new age Black politicians, we ain't been dealing with that forever. These folk here really out to get the bag, and they don't care nothing about nobody else. They don't care anything about nobody else. Every African American that was standing on them stages in the early phases of this Democratic run for president, you don't hear anything right now. Nothing.
And I'm trying to figure out why is it so quiet. Like, I don't really get it. Like any other time,
but they ain't making no money off of it.
You know what? I gotta go with that. You're absolutely right.
They making. See, they make. Let me tell you this here. Let me get it here. See, they make this much money, but because we're in the middle of the pandemic, they making that much money. So when they making that much money, then I ain't fooling with you. I ain't got nothing to say. Man, you got politicians out here right now hustling N95 masses. They selling the masses, man.
I think Black politicians, this is not anything new for Black politicians. Anybody who knows anything about the eugenics program know that they had a lot of Black people on board. The eugenics program, was designed to exterminate Black people back in the day. It's still alive today because after slavery, we were considered a burden to society. It was also the downtrodden society, the poor, disabled, and people like that. And you'll be surprised there was a lot of Black people on board with the eugenics program. A lot of them was on the NAACP, and I hate to say it because I know people get mad when I invoke the name of Martin Luther King. But in the 60s, he received an award from Margaret Sanger, who was one of the heads of the eugenics program, and he said, "I will consider this my most prized possession, my most prized award of recognition." She recognized him for helping with the eugenics program. And she said, like 30 years before he even got the award, we need to find a Black leader, preferably a Black reverend or somebody that's influential in the Black community to help sell our program of sterilization, which is where the Planned Parenthood comes from. We know disproportionately they are in our neighborhoods. That all comes out of the eugenics program. So I'm not surprised that you have a lot of these Black leaders who are silent on this because a lot of them are in on the fix. If they really cared about Black people, they wouldn't allow gentrification to go on. They wouldn't allow a lot of the stuff that's built in our neighborhoods to go on. They would really make sure Black people were upwardly mobile, like Marcus Garvey said, "Up, you mighty nation, accomplish which you will." If those, and I don't even call them leaders, I call them misleadership. That's exactly what they are.
You said a mouthful when you said building stuff. They wouldn't allow things to be built in our neighborhoods. This is a FedEx that I got today. Let me pop it open. So that you can see that this is not blank. This is not blank. Now, when you said that, you said a mouthful. What they do in our neighborhoods. Remember I was talking about North Forest Lump?
Mm-hmm.
What they did to North Forest? This is what y'all did to North Forest. Here the contract, here the deal. Here the deal that y'all signed. About $2-3 million. I ain't added it all up. This is why your neighborhood looks like it looks. And then a prominent politician, a week later after you sign the deal, shuts the schools down. See, I don't just run my mouth. I go get it. This is what we have a problem with. When I can find the contracts that show that you sold our neighborhoods out. I'm finna start rocking with the white Democrats, man.
Well, I don't know about if I would do that so fast.
I can't. Well, see, you in Cali, I'm down here. I need the Black ones either to step up to the plate or I'm gonna rock with the white one because I don't see the Black now.
Joe Biden is a white Democrat.
Say, but I'm gonna rock with the one ain't send my people to jail.
Well, there you go. But and I want to address why she keeps asking us, are we going to leave Trump in there? I don't think Trump should be in the White House. But what are we going to get? What are Black people? Voting is transactional. Everybody
Yes.
else gets something for their vote, whether you white, whether you a woman, certain kind of women. The gay community, they get something for their vote. Immigrants, illegal immigrants, even they get something for their vote. Everybody else gets, or even not even for their vote. Sometimes they get something.
Black
What?
people get something for theirs too, Demetra.
Huh?
Black folk get something for their votes.
What? I see you next.
Turkeys. They get turkeys.
No, we don't want a turkey. We want something that's really going to make a difference. You know, so I agree with you. Y'all, Trump should go. But what are we going to get for it? I don't want to hear next time. Because I've been voting since I was 18. And you know how many times, and I'm 49 now. You know how many times I've heard next time, oh, you know, we're going to do it. And no, we won't. We need to brace ourselves for another 4 years. That's where I'm at with it. I'm no longer going to continue to be forced into the booth to go in there, leave my vote, and walk out with nothing. So yes, Trump needs to go, but what are the Democrats going to give us for helping get rid of him? Because they know they need us. How is it that somebody like Joe Biden, who has done all the stuff he's done to black people, he don't even make sense no more. He just says stuff. And black people are just like so happy that he doesn't even have to say anything that he's going to do. In fact, he's against reparations. He said on day one, he's going to do stuff for the gay community. On day one. He didn't say, well, on day one, I'm going to at least give black people a turkey. He didn't say he was going to do anything for black people. You know why? Because we never make them do nothing for us. They just assume our vote and we give it to them. So, yeah, Trump needs to go. But what am I going to get for helping get him out of there? What am I going to get?
I'm going to tell you this here. Trump need to go. A whole bunch of these people need to go. See, I knew we were in trouble on election night. See, because no matter if folks want to admit it or not, this is what I see. And people talk all that stuff about you need to vote and you need to register. Trump and his people woke up a silent majority on their side. And when I started seeing Trump, quote unquote, win what I call the slave states out the gate, I knew we was in trouble. I knew we were in trouble. See, our people right now that was screaming for the 1,200, our people right now that ain't getting no unemployment, that's finna go through hell, you the ones that ain't voting. You the ones that ain't voting. Now, we could really affect Trump. Yeah, we could vote up there with Joe and Trump and blah, 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 blah. But them senator and Congress races is where we get Trump. That's where you get him at. But if you don't get out the house to vote, you can't affect it on either side. You can't affect it like down here. I mean, Diane Troutman allows Lily Setzer, who's over the Democratic Party, to run the local elections. Then all of a sudden you got black precinct chairs in black neighborhoods being fired the day before the election. You got voting machines all over the city going down on the Democratic side, but the Republicans are still up. I'm driving around the polls raising hell with presiding judges, but ain't no politicians doing it, and they standing right outside while I'm raising hell. And all of a sudden you got black precinct chairs in black neighborhoods. So for me, if you ain't willing to stand up and they kick you in your behind, don't say nothing no more. And I'm telling this, no matter who I decide to vote for. If you want Trump out, go to the polls. If you don't go to the polls, shut your mouth. That's all it boils down to. But you really need to find out. In our neck of the woods, Houston, is Sheila Jackson Lee who we still need? Or is it just somebody that we still want? Final words, my friend Lump. Talk to me.
That's for real, man. Like for me, my whole thing is my thing is this, man. Like you said, the big thing is this. I think the biggest thing is if you don't vote, I think, like you said, you need to make your lips touch. I actually make sure that I vote in all my elections. I always have. I'll be very honest with you. I wasn't 18 years old. I really wasn't. I'm a little bit older now. I'm 49 now. The local elections I really didn't pay too much attention to, but as I began to get older, I began to understand exactly how this process worked hand in hand, not from a textbook standpoint. And when we don't get out and start dealing with the people who are in our communities, the ones that we actually vote in, or the ones who are actually voted in, and we don't start holding them accountable, kind of like what you had to do at those voting booths when you had to get folks straight who was kind of acting out of line. You know, I watched what you did, and I respected it, because if we don't actually not only get these folks in office, but if we don't hold them accountable to go by the rules that have already been set in place, when folks think they can go rabid and do what they want to do, we got a whole nother problem. But the real focus for me right now, though, I'm gonna be honest with you, man, is the eye opener right now for me is what you said earlier, and I don't ever want to deviate from this. Right now, as I'm talking to y'all, and I keep looking over to my left, your right. I'm looking at this key model. It says 60,000 U.S. coronavirus deaths by early August, and I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to figure out as a human being how are our elected officials that look like us. They said this thing is looking like this disease or this pandemic or this virus is actually affecting us, and they don't have much to say. I'm trying to figure out, like right now, like you said, you know, somebody probably thought you was crazy earlier, G, when you said we need to get these charter buses together and go down here to Capitol Hill in Austin, and let's have some conversations, because this right here, it ain't right from a loan.
So when I say that, and I didn't want to interrupt you, Demetria.
It's so
when I say that, Lumping, Demetria, how they think they got it back open? They went got some buses and went down there the other day. See, we ain't willing to do what they do. And that's why we suffer. Your final words, Ms. Demetria.
Again, my final words is this: follow the money always. To those people, money is more important than people. But I'm going to say this, and I've said this, and I'm not going to change my mind. I know it's not popular. I will not go to the polls and vote unless I'm getting something out of it. Now, we may not get anything out of it, but I'm not going to be a part of the problem. Now, I will vote on the local and state elections. But as far as between Joe Biden and Trump, y'all can have that. I'm not going to continue to be used like everyone else. And then, as I always say, and I'm going to say this until election day, please stop lying on the ancestors, please. Because the ancestors did not die for us to just vote. They died for us to get something for our vote. It's in vain to just keep going into the booth and voting and getting nothing, because even they, the ones who died, or as Dr. Claude Anderson say, were murdered, their lives were taken from them. Even they went to the polls to get something, and they got something. Regardless of whether we agree with it or not, they got something. So I think they would be rolling over in their graves to know that we keep going to the polls out of symbolism. Because we as Black people vote out of symbolism. Oh, Biden was Obama's, right-hand man. They look so good together. Like I said, I've even heard women say Joe Biden was fine. This is Black women talking about Joe Biden is fine. So we need to give them our vote. So we need to wake up and start getting on the same page as Black people. And like I said, until we do that, I'm going to stay home. And then I've also said too, if you guys really want me to go to vote, and because my ancestors died for the right for me to vote, I will go vote, and I will write in Farrakhan for president, just so I can exercise my right to vote. Because I can write in somebody that I want to be up in there. Now, will it be a Trump vote for Trump or Biden? Yeah, it probably will be. But if you guys want to force me in there, then that's what I'm going to go do. So it'd be easy if all of us as Black people get on the same page instead of having these schisms. Well, I'm voting for this person, I'm voting for that person, because we are all in the same boat, regardless of how much money you making, or if you were able to get that $1,200 check. We're all in the same boat as Black people. So we need to get on the same page.
I'm looking at some of these comments, and I need some of you youngsters to understand one thing. You still on the Similac, dog. You ain't been through nothing. You ain't had to fight your way through nothing. You ain't been busting no schools. You ain't been through nothing. So it's easy for you to say you need to go do this here. My question would be, if I know somebody abused an African American, why would I vote for them? So you telling me to look over the fact that this man helped incarcerate thousands of African Americans. Let's just look over this here, because he promises that he's going to do what he said he's going to do. You know, the last time somebody promised something and the whole game got switched up was the Garden of Eden. And I refuse to listen to a snake till this day. Say, man, if I vote for Biden, can I run around the house naked and outside naked? Or do I need some leaves? Because if I can just be me and do what I want to do, Joe, you got my vote. I want to thank my guest, my man Lump in the building, Demetri K, my fabulous co-host, and I am the 5-star general. Please don't be a sucker. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man.
Love you, man. Be careful.